Welcome to Speak On It, our podcast. I'm Reverend Daryl Moak, and I am your host for the Speak On It podcast, along with my co-host, Donna Gales. Today, we have a very special guest host, and we are going to introduce her in just a moment. We are the Place of Worship Advisory Board. Our theme for 2022 is United Through Faith, Building Equity and Promoting Health and Wellness. Speak, spiritual platform encouraging and advancing knowledge on it. Speak on it. So today, this is the place where we bring the entirety of ourselves, including our spiritual perspective, to engage in thoughtful discourse and gain enlightenment and knowledge as a result. This special episode on Speak On It, on the Speak On It podcast, we have a very special guest today. Her name is Minister Pamela LaViste Bell. And today's topic is healthy minds, healthy spirits. We are one in the spirit. A little bit about Minister Pamela LaViste Bell. She is an LCPC, licensed clinical practical clinician. And Pamela Bell is a licensed therapist and minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. She served in private practice for 15 years, providing pastoral therapy for individuals and couples. She utilizes prayer, biblical principles, and evidence-based clinical models to create a sacred space where her clients can talk freely about personal issues and receive affirmation of their faith. Prior to opening her practice, Pamela served as a senior mental health therapist at Johns Hopkins Bayview. She earned her graduate degree from Loyola University and her ministerial license at New Psalmist Baptist Church under the leadership of Bishop Walter Thomas. In addition to her work in private practice, Pamela facilitates healing retreats and workshops across the country. She is currently launching a new initiative to develop trauma-informed faith communities that are equipped to support individuals suffering from trauma, grief, and mental health disorders. She conducts trainings to teach leaders effective ways to facilitate emotional healing for hurting souls. Pamela works extensively with ministry leaders to provide consultation and support because there are times when healers need healing too. Pamela.
The topic for today is healthy minds, healthy spirits. We are one in the spirit. So before I open up discussion, I'd like to ask you all to engage in the conversation and take 2 minutes or less for the sake of time in your responses. Is that good? Yes. All right. A recent study from Barna, a Christian research organization, showed that pastors are struggling with burnout at unprecedented levels. Barna reports that in March 2022, 42% of pastors in full-time ministry reported that they considered quitting because of burnout. Over the years, I counseled many pastors, business owners, and community leaders who were suffering from symptoms of burnout. They talked about feeling exhausted, drained, emotionally numb, feeling alone, irritable, and usually they contacted me because they had completely lost enthusiasm about their work, and they felt disconnected from God that they serve. Some of them had sleeping disorders, hypertension, and other stress-related illnesses. And they found it difficult to follow through with their doctor's recommendations because of the demands of their work made it difficult for them to focus in on themselves. They often put themselves last. And they put their needs on their back burner to meet the needs of the people that they serve. Let's face it, there's high expectations for faith leaders, right? So even though they're human, just like everybody else, they're expected to continuously perform and to be in line with other people's expectation of what they are all about. So let's talk about this, about what pastors and other people in leadership roles go through and what they can do to activate wellness in their life. So some of you are faith leaders here and other types of leaders. Let's talk about it. What do you go through? What is it like? Does any of these symptoms resonate with you? Yes.
It's Reverend Samuel Nixon. It does resonate with me a lot because as a faith leader, one of the things we get continually hit with is requests to help and to do and to be at certain places at different times. We get calls day and night, and it's something that we have to look at. How do we moderate and respond to that? And as a faith leader, one of the things reminded of is how the Lord, it calls us to be careful about being accountable, yes, to the body, to minister, but also taking care of this body.
Yes. Yes.
And so this body is a temple. The Spirit lives in the temple, and He wants it to be in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
So as a faith leader, that's one of the things I'm called to be reminded of, to pause and to give Him time so that I can be refilled to do the work He's called me to do. And that's what I have to be just prayerful about and continually attentive to, as accountable to Him as well as the people that He's called me to serve.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So I'm hearing that you have to be intentional about your self-care. It's not just something that's going to happen. You have to make it happen. Anybody else want to share? Yes. Reverend Hayes.
Elder Reginald Hart here. I find that a lot of our leaders in our churches are under pressure because they're not concentrating on teaching their congregation, and in teaching their congregation, they actually become more learned themselves in order to grow in learning to the degree of understanding how the spiritual and the natural fit and work together.
That's a great point. Ministry is collaborative, isn't it? So we are all many parts and all of one body. So we have to be able to reach out and connect with mental health people that can help out. It's not for one person to do ministry. So thank you for that comment. Let's talk about what you do to maintain wellness. You made some really great points about being intentional. So exactly what do you do?
I'm going to back up just a little bit and say that the part about being burnt out. I think that there's an expectation as a pastor for many years to have a generalist base of knowledge. And so sometimes congregants will come and they expect that you would be their lawyer, their doctor, the counselor, wait with their, bail bondsman, everything. So, and it burns you out because you want to be. You want to be. You love your parish and you want to be. So that's one of the places. So I've learned just with experience to do information and referral, to do the first counseling. I'm so glad that you do what you do because that is a professional field. And just because I can preach and organize doesn't mean I'm good at that. So that piece right there. So on this question, some of what I do, I take nature walks because that always brings me back to the simple and important things. I'm a yogini, so I practice yoga, which is especially good for arthritis. I talk to family and friends. I play with pets and I hang out with my granddaughter.
Wonderful. Thank you for that comment. I just wanted to say something about nature walks. That's extremely important. I discovered the benefit of healing properties in nature walks during the pandemic. And what I realized is that walking in nature, we are wired to be present. And when you are present, this is where healing begins. This is where healing happens. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, okay, come on.
Joining groups like this, POWAB, get other ideas from other clergy, so that I could find a way to get rid of some of that unneeded stress and pressure. And knowing that we all suffer with trauma, We all deal with different situations. I joined a life coaching class to learn more about it. I just want to learn more about it because I've seen pastors burn out. I've seen leaders burn out. I've seen a lot of people, my moms, people that care about people burn out. It's just the bottom line. You know, when you love people, you burn out because you want to save people, but we can't save. How am I going to help you if I can help myself? So I have to start with me first, you know, just like they tell you on an airplane. First, you take the oxygen, then give it to the baby.
And who are you?
Oh, yeah, and I'm Pastor John.
Okay. Thank you. Pastor John is talking about compassion fatigue. And that's what it's called in the therapy world. It's compassion fatigue, caring too much and doing too much. But go ahead. I don't want.
Oh, actually, I was going to piggyback off of that.
Okay.
We use that analogy all the time, the airplane safety analogy. Yes. You put your mask on first before you help others. So a lot of things we practice is co-regulation, is regulating yourselves. I work with about 25 to 30 youth in a classroom, 3 sets every day. So sometimes that fatigue that you feel happens right in the moment with the people that you're helping. So I've learned to utilize the same people I'm helping to help me. So a lot of times we'll ask the group together. If I'm overwhelmed, it's okay to say, hey, you guys, technology got me today. Can you breathe with me for a little bit? So I can give you a list of things I do at home. But in the moment, in the middle of the fatigue happening, in the middle of the stressors, simple tasks of breathing, moments of silence, and then asking the supporter, the very people you're supporting, sometimes helps equally as much. And so we practice that quite a bit. Oh, and I'm Pam Eula. I'm from Lutheran Social Service, and I work with youth development and wellness where we practice healthy relationship skills. So.
All right. Ooh, these answers. It's very rich, right? So, yes, it's important to, they say iron sharpens iron, to connect with like minds and to hear new information. So let's talk. One of the things I'm just going to share with you some of the things that I tell the pastors. And I said, be honest about what you feel. First of all, connect with some peers so that you can say, I am not okay comfortably. There's a whole theory that goes on in training. It says, don't bleed on the people. So a lot of the pastors are containing and suppressing what they're feeling because they don't want to bleed on the people. But find your crew. Find your tribe so that you can say, look, I'm not okay. All right. Spend time on a sabbatical. Yeah. There are some wonderful silent retreats that are available at different monasteries. I just came back from one in Kentucky. It was beautiful. And just go on a silent retreat. Be still and know that He's God. We talked about spending time in nature. Go to mental health counseling. It's okay. I know some of us believe that that's a lack of faith when you have to go and talk to somebody. But mental health counseling or true therapist is not giving you advice. A true counselor is helping to bring out the truth that is already in you. So get yourself also an accountability partner, someone that can notice when you're not looking like you're okay. All right. Okay, so let's move down to question number 2. During the pandemic, I received a lot of calls from ministry leaders who were looking for counseling for themselves because the devastating effects of COVID had done so much harm to their psyche and to their congregation and to their life, their personal lives. There was a lot of deaths. We know what happened there. So it's extremely difficult for them to take care of all the people that they had under their care and take care of themselves. So let's talk about what it is. How does leaders practice self-care while helping other people? How do you help others while helping yourself? How do you do both? There's some hands back there.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Charles Debenham. I am the Deputy CEO for Community Wellness Alliance. We do health and wellness programs in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. I'm also a tobacco treatment specialist. And so this fits right in because I think one of the things that you were talking about, or I heard early on, is, taking on more initiatives. And I think that we need to also focus or talk about tobacco especially in the Black community. There's so many of us smoking, so that's a whole different topic. But one of the things that I do is I had to learn this because it didn't come easy. I had to kind of learn how to remove all the negativity from around me. You know what I mean? And the only way I could do that was that I had to learn how to pray. And along with prayer, I had to learn how to meditate, because I had to be ready to receive whatever that blessing was or whatever that answer was that my higher power or that God was giving me. I had to be open to receive that. And so that's how I get my mind right first. So I wake up at 6 o'clock a.m. in the morning. That's the first thing I do is before I reach for a cup of coffee is I pray and I meditate. And so once I do that, I know my day is going to be all right. And so and from that point on, I can go out and I can do whatever the work that God has called me to do that day.
Thank you.
He just mentioned about the tobacco. Can you talk a little bit, without demonizing whether or not people smoke or have a drink or two here and there, how can you share how that can become maladaptive? Because people say, I take a cigarette because it helps me relax. Or I take a drink in the afternoon or the evening, rather, when I get home, because it helps me kind of relax in my evening and let go of my day. And those may be reasonable things to do, but when does that become, or can it become maladaptive? Maybe you could speak a little bit to that before we get to our next.
Well, the maladaptive part is that it's addictive. And that's where the issue. I'm a former smoker myself, smoked for 20-something years. And it's been 35 years since I smoked. But to God be the glory. Yeah, but it's addictive. And so when you are caught up in a web of addiction, you now lose your will to do what you know what you need to do or what you want to do. So now you're leaning on another substance to be able to be okay.
Hey there, I'm Reverend Carmen Washington Flood, and so glad to be in this space. A lot of what you say around these things, accountability partners, co-regulation, and dealing with compassion fatigue, many times pastors feel as though they have to have the answers, but then don't follow the answers. So we want to tell people what to do or advise people on what they can do or what they should consider. And then it is not as though any of those strategies, recommendations, opportunities, options are then opened up. There are a couple of pastors, very well-known pastors, particularly in the DMV area, who have begun to make other pastors sit up and take notice because they take a 3-month sabbatical. They take 3 months off from their church every year. And when that information first went out, how in the world do you step away from your congregation for that amount of time? And one, you're not worried about how it's going to function. That's when you know that you really aren't the leader, that God is really leading that place. That you really have people that you can delegate other responsibilities to, and they can carry them out. That your folks won't forget you because you've stepped away. So it is all of these things of understanding that if you are going to take care of people at the same time you take care of yourself, whatever advice you point them to, remember all the fingers that are pointing back at you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Philip Payne. I'm with Energy Inc., Reverend Darrell. I'm a community leader, Willard Terrace, known as Valley Green. It's a bad neighborhood. It was a bad neighborhood, but we needed somehow leaders as myself to step up to help the youth, to help some of the older guys that's on drugs. I'm one of those guys. I used to smoke marijuana for probably 10 years. I'm 10 years clean now. I own a pest control company. I've been doing that for like 12 years now. It's called P&P Exterminators. It's just real hard out here. I have a lot of youth that look up to me. They run to me for everything, like anything that they're having troubles with, or where somebody about to jump them, they're bullying them. I have a lot on my plate that I be dealing with, and I do it, and I know God have my back. I know that's how I'm making it through it, because they look up to me to so many different aspects of life. Whether it's gun control, I'm always there to stop. I stopped somebody from beefing probably like 2 weeks ago, saved a young kid's life, and I had both of them sit down. I took both of them on a exterminating job with me, trying to teach them how to teach them how to kill rodents, teach them how to kill ants, bugs, like anything to try to help them to alleviate the problem. But what we need down in our community is everyone that's right here. I feel so happy just listening to different pastors, you know. It's an honor to be here, and we need more support down in Willard Terrace area for the older generation. You know, I just wanted to say that I'm just proud to be here. Thank you, Reverend Durrell.
Thank you for sharing.
Minister Paul McCarthy. So I just want to highlight the fact as to what already has been said in terms of listening, meditation, and praying. And which you also realize that most of us here that have been called, we were not called by ourselves. We were called by the power of the Holy Spirit. And so there are a lot of buzzwords that we throw around and that we need to also incorporate when we go out there to do the work of our calling. We talk about being proactive. We talk about one concept that most of us might be aware of is client-centered therapy. A client-centered therapy is believing that when that client comes before you, you don't have the answer. The client also has to be a part of the answer to that problem. So we need to always be cognizant of that fact, that with the help of the power of the Holy Spirit, that client and yourself, they all come to play a role in addressing and coming up with a solution. So I just wanted to interject that.
Thank you.
And not forget about the power of the Holy Spirit
Right.
that calls us to do what we do.
That's right. I wanted to add another thought, something to think about, is empathy is better than sympathy in those cases. Because when you fall into sympathy, now you feel down. The client is down, the client is depressed, or the person in your congregation is down and out. And now you feel that, and you carry that. But empathy builds somewhat of a distance. What you do is put yourself in their shoes, and you can relate to what they're feeling. But now you still have the focus to do what the gentleman just said, bring it to the throne of grace. Right. So don't allow yourself to feel sorry. People don't need pity, but they need validation of what they're feeling. So empathy is better than sympathy. Okay. We always talked about referring people. That's extremely important. Like, you're not here to fix everything. We are one body with different parts. So oftentimes people take leaders for granted. Many leaders feel underappreciated. Let's talk about the importance of leadership in our communities and why pastors and other leaders are important to the community. Why is leadership important to the community?
Leadership is very important to the community
Okay.
because one of the things is that the community is looking for how to have someone that is willing to stand up and express what's going on, first of all, to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of almost mirrors what the prophetic role was in the biblical context, to speak what is going on and as a faith leader, to be telling the truth as to what you're witnessing that God is doing. And so the leader is at least the leaders in the community that are truthful and are reflecting what God wants to say, are helping the community to see the context of what is happening. So just like we're seeing in 2022, a lot of misrepresentation is going on around us. And the Lord reminds us the truth. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so if we are a leader in God's sense, then we are necessary to be able to articulate the truth that's going on. And so the community to hear and to move and to act on that.
Yeah, wonderfully said.
Yes, when I don't have any problem thinking of what a leader, who is a leader, because always conscious of Genesis, the 2nd chapter. Each one of us was created to lead, male and female. And this is also points to the good feeling of realizing and being able to recognize that our females in our communities and the females in the African American community have always been leaders in the homes. So leadership is extremely important in the home, first of all. And then, well, I ran across someone in ministry recently, and he has somewhat of a leadership responsibility in his church. But we were talking on the phone, and he says that everybody's not meant to be a leader. And of course, he's a baby Christian, but he's in a somewhat of a leadership position in his church. And this is something we all need to be cognizant of. But we have nationwide in this country, we have been missing the kind of leadership that we had during the civil rights movement. But here again, that's a blessing because of the fact that we need to recognize that all of us are leaders, and we need to just take on the responsibility and be accountable. So here again, this is where the local church comes in to actually teaching, okay, us as to who we are.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. I'd like to hear from some others that are not necessarily in the Christian-based faith. And what do you feel about leadership in the community? I'd like to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pat Fisher-Taylor. I am Community Relations Coordinator at MedStar Family Choice District of Columbia. We serve Medicaid families as a part of the D.C. Medicaid community. I would like to echo 2 words, 2 theories from my sister and from my elder here. Be still. And it's okay to do so. Okay. The other thing, community, what you just mentioned about, the words connection come. And the community, whether whoever is a leader or not, they are a part. They have a role because they're in it, regardless of how they show up. And one of the reasons why we continue to be a part of the Places of Worship Advisory Board is because the connection to the whole person, the whole body, the whole spirit, the whole mind, the whole community, the business, and all of these leaders, our many leaders, is that we stay in tune with one another. We cannot be so far apart. So even activities like this should just be ongoing. It is a part of self-care. I'm sure somebody here is relieved. Oh, I know I am. And that is to stay in the community, stay networking in the community, and also recognize that everybody has a leader in them. They have a role. The community, the congregation, the bus driver, everyone has a role. But if we work from a strength-based approach and not be the end-all be-all and say, you do this and you do that because I want you to do it, let me see what you do.
Yeah.
Show me what you do. Tell me what you think you do great.
Right.
And I've learned that working from a strength-based approach, there is so much less conflict. And people are so much more willing to learn, even in correction, or I just want to share. Okay. So connection, strength-based approach, be still, just for the well-being of everyone, because everyone is a leader.
Thank you for sharing. I really would like to hear from others and other than the faith and Christian faith community. Let's learn.
Once again, I'm Pastor John from Keep It Moving Empowerment Ministries, me and my wife, small ministry, outreach ministry. And what we was taught was you cannot lead where you will not go, and you cannot teach what you do not know. And I like what he talked about, because that's what I do. I grew up in Potomac Gardens at 37th Place, Ridge Road. So I'm a leader to them because I made it out of there, and they see it. They see that I don't do the same things that I used to do. They see that I live a life of productivity. To my grandsons and to my sons, I'm a leader because I can cry in front of them. I can be real in front of them, but I can show them that I can overcome whatever obstacles that come down the pipe. I don't try to pretend like everything is always sunny. I let them know that sometimes in life you're going to face challenges. But you got to regroup, and then you got to keep it moving. That's what we do. So I like forums like this because that's what it's really all about. A leader is a person that understands that sometimes you got to pass the torch.
And pass the mic.
Hello again. I feel like I'm always piggybacking off of something you say, but I'm born and raised Southeast D.C. So growing up, and I'm very pale. So growing up in there and growing up in that type of environment, community, I genuinely thought one particular way. I heard there were other opportunities. I heard there were other options, but I hadn't seen it. So if I didn't see it, I didn't believe it. So being able to be a part of several community outreach programs that, thank goodness, my mother put me in, I was able to physically meet people like me. Mr. Charles and I were talking at the table earlier how important it is to see somebody from your community succeed in something else that you hear is possible, but you never saw. So you coming from Wyoming and coming to my neighborhood is like, oh, you succeeded because you're from Wyoming maybe, but not necessarily that you're from someplace that you've experienced what I've experienced and seen what I've seen and endured what I endured. So having leaders come to the community from the community that are about the community, that are invested in the community, that don't plan on leaving in 2 years, that are really truly here to bring out the youth and bring out, the potential you have. I think it's very vital. I'm in the position I'm in. I choose to stay in my community. I could choose to work in my community because I saw leaders be leaders in front of me. So I think that that's important. In general, so whether it be faith, whether it be from experience, from recovery, whether it's growing out of old habits, seeing someone succeed is equally as important as pushing someone else to succeed. So that is.
Thank you for sharing. If you pass the mic behind you, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So, first of all, I was born and raised in Nepal and India. Okay, I've gone to school in India. Okay, so I've lived there in that part of the world for quite some time. But I've lived in this country, California, South Carolina, and here in this area for 20 years. Okay, so why maybe I'm a leader? I think because I'm ready to tell the truth and I'm ready to be vulnerable. Okay, I'm ready to be vulnerable and grow out of it. Okay, and with that, I will say that men, especially, we are suppressing our feelings too much. Okay, and we are suffering because of that. That's the truth. Okay, and we need to speak that. Thank you.
Thank you. Has such great insight. Is wonderful. And I hope that you leave here with something that you're taking away that you can apply to your everyday life. It's so important that we take care of ourselves and each other. Right. So thank you. for this opportunity to serve as guest host. And for more information about my business, which is my ministry, is Serenity Pastoral Counseling Center. And you can go online on the website. It's serenitypcc.com. Serenity, P like in Paul, C like in cat again, .com. Okay. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Minister Pamela Leviste Bell, for that great presentation, and all of you for participating. We thank you for listening to this this special episode on Speak On It podcast. We hope we encourage you to find your inner peace, happiness, and to be healthy in your mind, body, and spirit. We are one in the spirit. For more information on the Place of Worship Advisory Board, for Speak On It podcast, contact Donna Gales at dgales@capitalcaring.org or Reverend Daryl Moak at nubianphoenix1@gmail.com. To become a member of POWAB, contact Reverend Dana Tolliver at rev.danatolliver@yahoo.com. I'm used to seeing a different email. Or Elder Reggie Hart at heartreggie@gmail.com. POWAB Community In-Reach and Outreach Co-Lead for Membership. The meeting takes place every second Friday of the month. POWAB, you can also visit our website at www.dchealth.dc.gov/POWAB at DC, and our email is dc.powab@dc.gov. Or you can call Evangelist Regina Jefferson at 202-671-5061. She is our Interfaith Community Engagement Coordinator for DC Health. We thank you for joining us today for this episode of Speak On It.